This video will be dedicated as a learning material for those who are in the United States of America. As I said in my previous videos, I don't want to touch upon this subject again, the subject of UK and what they are and how they pretend to be my friend, and how their agents are everywhere and their little island has to be mostly agents at their bullshit jobs. So under my videos you can check that there will be a long ass comment. First sentence they will act like they agree with me, say something nice, and then they would write a huge paragraph blaming Russia or Germany, which essentially would be in contradiction with my video, and there will be the bullshit story, and the bullshit story is from their bullshit history books, which their British scholars have written, just like the British who has taken over all the science field. So why I am not talking about Spanish and Portuguese, for example, or Turks, which were also historically involved in the slave trade. I'm talking about who controlled the sea and who still controls the sea and who controlled the slave trade. The difference between these countries is that Spanish and others, like for example Portugal and Turkey, they had people among them who first said something like that Native Americans, Indians are not human, they are some kind of they don't have souls, and so on and so on. And then eventually one of them with this leadership type of spirit would say, no, they are humans just like us, you should treat them nicely. And each time, for example, they took prisoners, and Turkish, Spanish, Portuguese, they would declare somebody a slave, but then these slaves, if they were at least talented in anything or skillful in anything, they could go upwards in the society. And for example, in Turkey, a slave could become pasha, like an advisor to the government, or like on the level of a prince or a duke. And the same in Spain. The Spanish also intermarried with the natives of that land. And eventually Spanish, they even have this tanned shade of skin color to them. So when it comes to Germans, Germany never had colonies. Germans have Jews to answer for. They really killed Jews and gypsies. And by the way, they have answered for it. English freaks never answered for everything. It's never their fault. They always frame somebody. So English never paid anything to Africa as a repatriation, or India, or anywhere else in Asia for what they did. So, in my opinion, those who consider themselves African Americans, of just Africans, should demand reparations from the English freaks. And in their slave trade, there was no upwards mobility in their society, no chance for the slaves to intermarry with the English, and they controlled everything. Each human zoo in any city in Europe or anywhere else in the world, and all the slave trade was controlled by the British freaks. So anyways, now about United States. A huge part of US land, such as part of California and Alaska, used to belong to Russians. So Russia sold that land, and they sold Alaska, for example, in 1867, I think, and for a very small price. And Americans who bought Alaska got the return of their money in 1 year. So the price was really small. Okay? And in California, when it comes to Fort Ross in California, the Russian settlement was found on the 11th of September 1812. And since 1812 till 1841, it belonged to Russians. So, in many ways, these rich states and part of California and Alaska belong to Americans, and they have all these industries to it, like gold, fuels, and so on and so forth, thanks to Russians. So a lot of these fish that you eat from Alaska, a lot of jewelry and everything else that you wear and that you use is thanks to Russians. So the same what is happening now with the grain deal, because UK still controls the seas. Russia had lots of wheat harvest last year, and instead of making this grain deal where these Americans and British and NATO claimed that they need that wheat and corn deal, the wheat which we had of our own in Russia, we had a huge harvest, and we offered to them, we said, we can send to these African and other countries who had a drought, we can send them our wheat for free because we have a lot of harvest this year. This was back in 2022. And they said, no, we just need this Ukrainian wheat, so we will send them, we will sell it to Africa and other poor countries that needed it. And it all ended in one thing: those ships went to the UK. That's where they went. And that's what the grain deal is about, and all the rest of the grain deal. Now, I wanted to tell everybody who is in the United States. I'm telling you what I believe from what I know, and this is how all this spiritual realm works. For each Russian soldier that is killed in this Ukraine-Russia war, the Providence the divine power will take 3 of your own. If you take in Ukrainian refugees, if you support that Ukraine movement in any way, you are going to pay for it. You give $5 to this Ukrainian cause, you will lose 5,000. You go bankrupt. You buy a stupid bracelet and you wear it in support of the Ukraine for $2, okay? For change. Then you might end up homeless, okay? And a lot of you could have still been living in the human cages, but not for Russia, because back in the war for independence, Russia protected the ships with their fleet, which supplied all these products to the United States, which were necessary for them for their war for independence from the UK. Okay? So your war for independence depended on Russian help, and that's how you paid us. Okay? So this fuel that you use comes in many ways from Alaska and California and so on and so forth. A lot of richness that you use in your land is thanks to Russians. So when you blow up Northern Stream pipeline, when you conspire as an American with British and you hire Polish to blow up Northern Stream pipelines, and you, US, are going to sell your liquefied gas instead to them, that's not going to work. They are going to blow up, get spoiled. Nothing is going to work. You are not going to profit from it. And then your children are going to die. For each Russian soldier, they will take 3 of your own. Remember that. So all this shit that happens now, in your country, it will get worse. I promise you, it will get worse. So if you have sudden fires in your factories over there in the US, like in Arizona and so on, none of you fucks subscribed and watching my video wrote to your American Canadian representative saying that, Aidan James was poisoned and his murderer and conspires in his poisoning, and his little son is still suffering. And why don't you investigate the case? Nobody lifted a finger for my son, but suddenly you want to help Ukraine with your flags on Twitter, all these signs, blue and yellow, whatever. So I think you should fuck off and unsubscribe from my channel. Otherwise, you Canadians should find and break the legs of that broken cunt who poisoned my man. And you Americans, you know what I'm saying to you. You are going to suffer for this. And yes, for my little son, who is a saint, who had everything stolen from him, enjoy this, enjoy that. And things are just going to happen around Europe and to everybody else to whom Russia did only good. So when you see a fire on the steel processing plant in Arizona and other fires, know that you are paying. And for every ugly fucking freak from Australia who stalked me, pretended, hacked into my lawyer's account and wrote emails on his behalf, you are also going to pay. And I know that you were an imposter. So You see these double sun and other signs in your skies. That's the wrath of God. The comets and all the rest, what you put out, you get in return. That's your gratitude for all that Russia did to you. See, this is the oil reserve, and the lightning strikes in it here on your screen. You see? The oil reservoir and the lightning that strikes on it. And then there is a fire. This is in Louisiana, USA, 3rd of June. And remember how much you owe to Russia on the 4th of July, on your Independence Day, because I know stuff about USA. You know nothing about Russia, but you suddenly want to support another side. In 1817, the Russo-American Company and the local Indian people agreed to a treaty of protection, aid, and loyalty. The company wanted justification for occupying the land and needed friendly relations with its main labor force. In return, the Indians wanted protection from the Spanish. This treaty marks the first known written agreement between Europeans and native Californians. The Russians presented the Indian leaders silver medals which read, "Allies of Russia." Complex and changing, the company relations with the people from top of land were a mixture of goodwill and harshness. So anyways, keep studying this Winston Churchill, your so-called hero, and his druid friends, and you know, they are going to be where they are going to be, and you are going to be in poverty and disgrace and in natural disasters. Okay, these are the people who use Africans as footstools or something like that. No, not the footstools, the stools. They're the chairs, I think. Yeah, the British scientists. You know, the Darwin, he was from UK, I suppose, and he was this proponent of the theory that people came from monkeys, evolved from the monkeys, and then when they had these human zoos, they said that Africans were the missing link between the monkey and the human. So anyways, you are such great people, and you sure know everything about everything, and you sure are going to super win with your super military equipment. Anyways, what else did I want to say? Look at that, nerve agent or insecticide poisoning for use in for adults and pediatric patients weighing 41 kg plus, duodot, atropine and predotime chloride injection, single dose, auto injector. This is like antidote against organophosphate poisoning. Somehow the photo was made from the Ukraine reconnaissance service. So that's what you bring, I guess, to the world with your UK poisoners. Jesus, your Miami is going underwater. I guess it has something to do with this era of Aquarius, where everybody has to be paid what is due. So anyways, just wanted to finish it with the note that Russians never traded slaves in Africa from Africa. These was all British freaks who never answered for that. Never answered for anything that they did ever. And why should they? They are the superior race, right? So another $2 billion that you are going to send from the US to Ukraine to help kill Russian soldiers. You know how you are going to pay with this. And this is you have to thank your Blinken for, who Blinken is in charge there, and he is from Ukraine. You see he has these solid black eyes. This is because they are this spider race. Like there is this reptile and there are the spiders. And yeah, you have your certain heroes like Sandy Hookers, like Noah Posner, who was a victim in Sandy Hook. Then he was Jewish, of course, as his name suggests. Then he turned up in the photo of Peshawar shooting as a victim of Peshawar shooting in Pakistan military school, and then he ended as, and then he was Muslim, and then he ended as white supremacist Kyle Rittenhouse, and so-called German surname. So that's his mom, inbred, British-looking creature, Mormon, Scientologist, or whatever that is, and your others, that they all look the same. US Ambassador Jeffrey Pyatt, for some reason I think that he is a clone from IVF lab of MI6, and he looks awfully like this Dr. Fauci, which is like them putting Italian surname of on a lizard creature from MI6 British lab. And of course all your equipment that's worth millions of euro or millions of dollars per piece is going to get destroyed, and you are going to now send another $1 billion package, and this will be the debt that you cannot repair. And what will happen next, you will have to sell your land. So you will sell Alaska and California, and California turned into this Skid Row homeless shelter encampment thing, and you would think that you would rather care about your own homeless in California and whatever else. Philadelphia is your first capital, I suppose, and why don't you think about your image of Philadelphia, rebuilding this? You think about Ukraine and you support Ukraine. Again, nobody ever out of you subscribed, helped to my child, and the money you took as a bribe and the money you took from CIA, you will not get any real joy from it, because you are now going to enjoy the smoke, and your house is going to burn out or be submerged underwater. And as for California, it was bought from Russians, this Fort Ross, by Mexicans, and The agreement was to pay 40-something thousand silver rubles of silver coins, and 37 of them they never paid back, so this is not a real deal. Have a nice day, everyone.